Are you curious about how Square performed in the last quarter and why the stock price started to rise? Maybe you want to know what analysts predict for the stock price, and in contrast, how the situation looks from the perspective of an amateur investor. Or do you just want to know how I'm playing the situation? Hi guys, welcome back. This is the Smart Invest. Let's quickly clarify that this video does not provide financial advice. It's just the opinion of an amateur investor and the presentation of facts for educational purposes. I would like to briefly introduce my own relationship with Square stocks to reassure you. I am also heavily interested in the story. On a beautiful hot and sunny day in July, when I could have been doing many other things, something more fun, but for some reason I decided to analyze the exciting financial reports of Square instead. After some thinking, I eventually opened a small position. The smart money entered the market at an average price of $77 per share. Let the position size be 1x for now. As I've become accustomed to, shortly after opening the position, the stock price began a modest decline. Actually, with the first purchase, I'm just provoking the market so that I can buy later at a lower price. It wasn't very modest upon closer inspection. Nearly 50% drop. But since, naturally, I am an experienced and extremely considerate investor, I knew exactly that I had a good reason to buy the stock at $77, so I didn't panic. When others frantically tried to sell their shares, I started buying more in increasing quantities, and yes, I bought my last shares at a price of $40. Therefore, it is crucial to know the companies we are buying, as it prevents us from panicking in such situations and gives us the courage to increase our positions. Currently, the number of my shares corresponds to 5x. With this action, I managed to reduce my $77 average price to $61 per share, and the position is currently in a 6% profit. Although the stock price is lower today than when I first entered, I am still in profit thanks to the continuous purchases. This is the magical dollar cost averaging. It's important to note that this doesn't work in every case, as if someone had started dollar cost averaging the Pocket Network coin. It might not have been the best investment decision of their life. At the moment, my Square position constitutes nearly 5% of my portfolio and is the fourth largest holding. What is my plan with Square stocks? It will be revealed soon. But why did the stock price start to rise after the quarterly report, and what price do our analysts expect? First, let's see how Square is doing nowadays so that we can better interpret the value seen in the report later. At first glance, we can see that the company is valued at $39 billion and it generated nearly $21 billion in revenue in the last 12 months. A friendly forward price to earnings ratio of around 22 can be seen, which is not a bad value for such a dynamically growing company. So let's see what price our sharp analysts predict. For the next 12 months, we can see various values ranging from $45 to $100 per share, but most of them consider $77 per share as the most likely. If we look at future expectations, we can see that they hope for a doubling of revenues by 2028. There is something even more interesting here, the nearly $8 earnings per share they also hope for by 2028. This doesn't seem so bad, but let's look at a slightly more distant target price for Square stocks. Some believe that $400 per share is conceivable by 2030, but according to the chart, it could reach $500 as early as 2026, so it seems pointless to hold on until 2030 LOL. But let's see that wonderful last quarterly report that breathed new life into Square stocks. More than half of Square's gross profit comes from the Cash App sector, and the growth proves to be faster in this sector. At least in terms of gross profit, we can see that, as an interesting addition, in 2021, Square announced the acquisition of Afterpay, a buy now, pay later platform which allows customers to pay for purchases in smaller installments. We all know that this is a very successful business model in today's consumer society. Net income is still negative at $29 million, but this cannot be considered a significant loss. Returning to the Cash App for a moment, we can see that the growth in pay volume is rapid, and by September they had already completed 2 million transactions, doubling since June of this year. Total gross profit increased by 21% compared to the same quarter of the previous year. The growth seems to be slowing down, but a 21% growth rate is still very good. Here we can see the more precise distribution of gross profit by areas and their growth. Naturally, the software and integrated payments sector is the strongest, But the banking sector also achieved a 24% growth in the last 12 months. They have adjusted their fourth quarter expectations in a positive direction, which is definitely a favorable sign for us. A favorable sign, provided they can deliver the expected results. Just quickly, a simple like or comment can help the algorithm and sponsor my hard work, guys. Thank you a lot for that. If they underperform their own expectations in the last quarter, it will probably not bode well for the stock price. For 2024, they expect nearly $900 million in adjusted operating income, which is 4 times more than the expected result for 2023. This is also a positive sign for us. In recent years, Square has not performed poorly, so we have every reason to think that this growth will not suddenly stop now. And here comes something I really like with emerging companies. They spent more than $700 million on research and development in the last quarter, which is nearly 35% of their total gross profit. I personally really like it when a company aggressively spends on research and development because that's the only way to gain a competitive advantage in the market and maintain it in the long run. As we suspected, Square is not on bad terms with stock issuances, but fortunately, this seems to be diminishing, and the current 3% value is not at all dramatic. Free cash flow has reached a record value, and it's not such a negligible amount. Shareholders' equity is a quite massive amount, which should prevent the company from being shaken even in a tougher period. Now let's look at those valuation metrics. The price-to-sales ratio is 1.23, which is not an outstanding value in itself, and it's not in its sector either. The price-to-book ratio is 2, which is also not considered a huge value. So what are my plans with Square stocks? In my opinion, in the next 2 years, it's easily conceivable to have a stock price around $150 and $200, but I'm not sure if I want to sell the Square company then. The business model and expansion of Square are interesting and promising to me, and based on the company's future performance, I will decide when I want to sell my shares. At the moment, Square seems undervalued to me, and I see plenty of potential in it. If you liked the video, found it informative, and would like to help me on my journey toward 1,000 subscribers, please press the like button and subscribe. Take care, guys, and see you on the next episode. Try not to lose all your money in the stock market until the next video.